I do not consent.
All right, we'll get it started, and welcome everyone to Women in Floor Covering Table Talk. My name is Jen Zurn. I am a certified hard surface installer. I've been in the floor covering industry for about 20 years. I own and operate an installation company out of Wisconsin. Here with me is our rock star, Crystal Sims, the first female competitor in the installation competition. The spotlight she's put on women in the industry has been nothing short of incredible. So I won't continue to embarrass her, and I'll let her introduce herself.
So I'm Crystal Sims. I was the first woman competitor. I work for Preferred Flooring in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm just an employee, so I don't own any.
Not just an employee.
I'm the employee. A little background around me, about me, is I started 10 years ago as a temporary, just like everyone else. You always start as a temp. And I just feel like they felt the loyalty coming from a family member. And I just kind of stuck around. And here we are, 10 years later. They have pushed me further than I ever thought that I could go, which is how I end up in the installation competition. And it kind of has led to this, where we are, this women in construction, women in flooring business. And that's kind of what we want to focus on today. What kind of things that we go through on a job site, being women, or what kind of, what were we looking for?
What challenges that
What
we
challenges
face.
we face.
And,
Obstacles.
yep.
And how we can change that, how all of us, and how we can tell people what we can do to change that going forward, because everyone matters, whether you're male or female. It doesn't, everyone is important, everyone is a vital piece to our industry, and if we don't get more people involved, there is no us.
As Dave Gard puts it, it takes all of us. We also have other women here from different parts of the industry, like the retail side. We have Tammy Buckhart from Lehman Flooring in Indiana, and we have Stephanie Watson from Carpeting by Mike in Wisconsin. Tiffany. And I'm sorry. I wrote Stephanie. I don't know what.
Stephanie.
Shame on me. And Alana McInnes, did I say the last name right? From Mohawk on the manufacturing side, to help kind of round out the conversation, because while we're all in the same industry, sometimes what challenges that are going to be in front of us might be different, they might be the same, but I think it's important to make sure we're covering all aspects of that. So if you're not familiar with Roundtable Talk, Crystal and I will kick off the discussion, and then we invite everybody to join in. And if you come up with questions along the way, feel free to ask them. I mean, this is a group conversation. We have a great group here, so I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody has to say and where it leads. We are seeing more women enter the trades, and it's obviously most trades are very male dominated. And so we have to start shedding some of the social stigma and gender roles that are associated with women. But the only way we can do that is to talk about it, is to have these conversations, whether they're comfortable or not. And we need women to know that they have a place in the trades, especially flooring, because we are at an installer crisis. So why not, try and capitalize on that? But how do we do that? One, again, is starting the conversations. But I guess one interesting thing I'd like to ask is, how did some of you come into the industry? Some of the ladies here.
You're gonna have to pick someone.
I'll start. Cool. So my dad started his company in Floorcovering. He was an installer, and then started a retail store. So I was the youngest of 3 girls, and I was the one that's more like wanted to hang out with my dad more. So he started dragging me along to the job sites. Didn't matter how many times I was like 6 or 7. I'd take my shoes off, I'd run across the tack strip, then I'd put the wet carpet of nylon down, then I'd get blood on the carpet. He kept bringing me along. So I started to see what he was doing for the family and what he was doing to communicate with people, and he taught me not to judge people on how you look, because I'd see a guy in like overalls, and he'd be talking to him, and like long hair, didn't look like he showered, and I go, Dad, what are you doing talking to him? Like, I don't understand. He goes, he doesn't look like he is much. I'm young. And he goes, Tiff, he owns all the apartment buildings we've been doing. He's a landlord. He does this. He's got more money than God. Not that that matters, but don't judge people you don't know. And that was really stuck with me. So I turned about 24, worked with him full time. Then I had my daughter and I left, went back to corporate banking, then came back when the store went through a couple changes. He was diagnosed with cancer, passed away shortly after that, and here I am now, 4 years later, running his store, which is now my store. So that's how I got into flooring, as much as I tried to leave. And I came back, and I couldn't be happier.
It chooses you, right?
It chooses
Flooring
you.
chooses you.
Yep.
I'm Cynthia Offiero, and I am the original girl in carpet. And the guys here that know me, they know that. And my late husband and I were involved with CFI since 1994. We're one of the founding members of CFI. I was the first CFI certified woman in the organization. I will tell you that most people, I began business women. I met my husband Andrew, I fell in love with him, and he told me, I mean, right from the get-go, I'm gonna tell you right now, I've gone through 2 marriages and a couple of serious relationships because my mistress is carpet. I am with her 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I'm a Jersey girl. I'm just gonna say it straight out. I got in bed with the bitch. And the rest is from there. And one day, Andrew was reading Floorcovering Installer magazine, and he reads this little article about this organization called CFI. He picks up the phone, and he gets Jim on the phone, Jim Walker. And he's on that phone over an hour. I think it really was probably closer to 2. And again, Jersey lingo, F this, F that, blah, 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 blah. And he hung up that phone and he said, send that man $250. I'm going to get CFI certified. And this was in the summer of 1994. And we had to wait until October when CFI was in our closest area, which was Pittsburgh. We drove 7 hours out to Pittsburgh and got certified. And in a weekend that involved Friday night seminar with Jim Walker, all day long Saturday and all day long Sunday. It was 3 days long. Andrew was certified to a master installer then. I was certified R1. And we just went up to the table and we said, what's next? What's next? Where do we go next? What are we doing next? And, well, we're gonna be in Boston in 2 weeks. Where? We'll be there. And we just started following them around, and they literally called us the first Jim Walker groupies. But I would tell you, as far as women are concerned, how you're gonna get involved in this business is you're gonna fall in love with someone who is already in that business. And if you want to have any kind of relationship with them, you're going to get in bed with her too. Okay, that's all I can tell you. But I was looking yesterday, listening to all the speeches and stuff like that. You're preaching to the choir. Everybody, again, the people who have been here since day one, we've been hearing this for 30 years about the crisis in floor covering. And I gotta tell you, last night I kept on thinking 2 things. Number 1, the future of floor covering very well may be female. Okay, to see a couple of women out there on their hands and knees, I mean, making stars last night. You guys were walking past us last night and we were like, let's see what you did. I mean, we're like proud parents. We want to put this stuff on the refrigerator. And you were like, this is my first time, but I didn't really fit it. We don't care, bring it. We want to see it, you know? And the other thing is, I tell you more and more, I think the future of floor covering looks more and more like stained concrete. It's not just carpet. And I will tell you, Jim and Jane and whoever, actually these founding, there was like 16 founding members, had the vision to call the organization international, to think globally. And then floor covering, to cover everything, even though CFI was first and foremost carpet, carpet, and more carpet. That's all we did was carpet. And nobody did carpet better than CFI. There is one thing that is an exacerbation that I don't think we've ever had before. And that is, in today's generation, we have about, and I don't mean disrespect to any of the young people who are here, we have about the laziest, least motivated generation this nation has ever seen. And I hate to think that we're part of it because of our kids that always say, Mommy, Daddy, I want. You want? Abracadabra, you got it. I came from the generation, you want, you go get a job and get it. You know, even to the point when we were teenagers and we were all having a little part-time job and Mom, we're out of milk. My mom would say, well, go to the store and buy some. You know, I mean, you have your own money. Today's kids, they ain't about working. And it's not just in the construction trades, it's straight across the board. The industry, you know, hospitality industry, retail industry, medical industry, I mean, people leaving in the droves. So like, I really don't know what the magic, you know, ingredient is to get this. Again, we've been hearing this for 30 years, but yesterday, what I saw that really did my heart so much good was seeing the girls out there. And I'm like, yeah, maybe the future of floor covering is female. I will tell you, I was a former carpet retailer. Okay, Andrew and I had a great big carpet store. 98% of my customers were women. They were women. I had like 2 men that walked in my room, both of them were gay. All right, but I tell you what, it's all good. Now, one day, Andrew comes into the carpet store. We had a 3,000 square foot carpet store, remnants all over the place. And I'd have these ladies come in and they would have, you know, their little swatch of their pillow, and I like this green one over here, and oh, I kind of like that blue one. So he came in one day, and literally the carpet store looked like a pile of pickup sticks. And he was like, what in Sam Hill are you doing? I color coordinated the store. Here, yellow, I mean, like a rainbow. And the ladies that came in, oh my God, green, I need this green. And I'll tell you what, a couple things happened there, all right? Number one, I was thinking like a woman. Number two, it showed me what colors move the fastest. I got my women out of the store probably 20 minutes faster in making their decision, because color is the number one thing that they're looking for. The other thing that I learned how to do on my own, no one taught me this, was I used to qualify my customers when they came in. I had a prime example. I'll tell you about this lady, Pat. She came into my store. She was from Belmar, New Jersey. She had 4 children. She was a Cub Scout leader. She was a Girl Scout leader. She had a dozen kids in her house every single day. And she said, I want beige carpet. I said, no, you don't. I'm not putting beige carpet in your house. And I talked her into hunter green. And she came in my store 6 months later. She said, you saved my life. You really did. You know, you run a vacuum, it's probably got a million stains on it, you can't see them, but when I vacuum it, it looks brand new. But I need beige carpet in my bedroom. All right, I'll do beige carpet in your bedroom. And 3 months later, she walks in my store. My littlest one came in my room in the middle of the night. Mommy, I don't feel so good, but she threw up all over her carpet. And the last thing they ate was like cherry Kool-Aid. She was like, I got to stain that out, I got to get it out. So I went and got that out. But I got to know my customers, and I got to qualify them. Tell me about your life. You know, do you have dogs? Do you have somebody in a wheelchair? I mean, because depending on what your use was, I'm going to sell you the right product for you. You know, so that was one thing that I earned trust with my women, because they were like, this girl is not going to lead you wrong, not ever. You know, but I didn't mean to come in here and just like charge like a bull and take over this meeting. I've been looking forward to meeting you.
That is using.
And that Alan and I have known Cynthia for 25 years. If anyone else wants to talk, you're gonna have to interrupt. Right now.
I think I can listen to her all day.
Yeah, I know.
Great conversation.
And most of you will find that though. The way you get into floor covering business is because you fell in love with a man that was in the floor covering business. Or you were his daughter. You know, I did know one lady, she was actually about 10 miles down the road where I had my carpet store, and I said, how did you get in the floor covering business? She said, well, I threatened to turn my father into the IRS. And I said, all right, whatever works, you know? But, you know, seriously, that was a true story. That's what she said. But there you go. That's how women get in the floor covering business. But, so it's kind of refreshing to see more and more folks in there. So,
I personally came in because I met somebody who was in the floor covering business, and you know, it was a slow integration, and one day somebody's like, duh, didn't show up. I'm like, I'll get my hands dirty, and I never stopped. But then I have a question for some of the guys at the table. How did you get into the floor covering industry? Because I've heard stories from middle-aged men that have come into the industry from women, and that I find absolutely interesting, for the simple fact that at that point, that would have been a different time. It's very rare
I get it.
that's the story.
So I got into floor covering because the girl I was dating in high school dumped me for this guy in a grade above me. Okay, so I was 11th grade, 12th grade thing. And this was, actually, it was after prom. I'd taken her to prom. And then I got dumped. And he was a carpet installer. So I thought, well, I could keep an eye on her if I became his helper. So I'm a stalker. Like that.
I was a stalker and you heard all me.
I was going in a
No, I
different
never told
direction,
you.
but you totally went, I zigged, you
Well, I'm in
zagged.
floor cover because of the woman, is what my point is. And, oh, by the way, they got divorced. And he used to be rep for Mohawk and now is with some other company. I see him all the time and I don't talk to her anymore.
That's a very interesting story of what you said though about women getting involved, or men getting involved because of a woman. That's very interesting.
It's a story you don't hear that often.
No.
I find it very interesting because if you look at that timeline, it's just like that would have been a very difficult market for that installer to have been in.
Right.
But, do you want to take this part? Oh, okay. So Crystal had done some research, and the word feminism is derived from the philosopher Charles Fourier, and it's meant to describe feminine qualities and character, a concept that's rooted in women's rights and determination for equality. And the reason why we're bringing this up is because most oftentimes it's mistaken as women perceiving themselves aggressively superior. And that's not what this is about. It's about having an equal place at the table in a very male-dominated industry. That's it. It's not a competition. We want an equal spot at the table. And according to the U.S. Labor Statistics in 2020, women make up 11% of the workforce in the trades. That's all the trades combined, 11%. So women are often underrepresented when it comes to the trades. How do you guys feel women are represented within our industry? Like, do you think we're getting the representation in floor covering like we should?
So I'll talk about that, right? Because I've been on kind of the forefront of everything with, so a little bit of background. She said that she was kind of forced into stuff, and I 100% did. I entered her into the installation competition because she wouldn't do it herself. And I was like, sometimes you need someone to believe in you in order for you to believe in yourself, and I was kind of that guy, right? It was like, I know how good you are, we taught you, so I just entered her, and that kind of gave her the confidence and motivation we have boxes in the shop to practice and stuff. And she just got in there, kept practicing, and then once we got to the shows, a lot of people came up to us like, she's kind of a shoo-in because she's a girl. She's only here because she's a girl. This, you know? And it's like, no, man, she's here because she's got them skills that she needs to have in order to be here. And I don't think it was until they actually seen her produce that they changed their mindset. But that's kind of the mindset that a lot of people have, is they're only there because they're a female. And you see a lot of stuff with inclusion lately, and it's not just the females, but it's, you know, a broad spectrum of inclusion that people are talking about now, and women are just one aspect of that. But without talking about it and having that conversation, you don't really know. So women are definitely underrepresented, right? And it's stuff like this that has to happen in order for that conversation to keep going.
Absolutely.
There's been people that have came to our shop and they're like, we're here because of her. I don't want anyone else to install my floor. We're here because she works here. And I mean, it's definitely something that is growing, and I think that it's going in a good direction, but the mindset of a lot of people need to change for this to keep on going.
What's the approachability? I mean, for people, so I own a commercial floor covering company in Wichita, Kansas, and I also own a piece of software that is meant to, elevate the labor trade. But what's the approachability to how does the, say, decision makers approach the woman workforce in a way that is attractive? Just your example right here, Crystal, you're very talented, but you had to have a shove into it. So once you got that shove, what do you see now that could help? Because for us, we know that we have one woman installer out of hundreds, and she's very talented. Came through a husband as well, fell in love with a guy that loves flooring and is doing flooring. So, but an outreach, do you guys have any advice for outreach to approach women and the opportunity to get into the trade? Like, how do you bridge that? Frankly, for me, it's a little intimidating on how to approach it in a respectful manner that would attract them. I mean, we market to installers to get more installers to come and work for us. How can we make the message, what message would resonate to women that would help us to do that? Because the one woman I do have is freaking phenomenal. The attention to detail is above board. Maybe not the fastest, but certainly the most detailed. And the cleanest, by the way. Those are qualities in flooring that has to happen. One of the best compliments we get is when our crew left the job super clean. Left it clean, the details were like, those check marks were made. So what can we do from flooring contractors, manufacturers, and flooring retailers to have a message that would resonate from a marketing standpoint? What marketing, I market to any installer. We don't exclude women, but we certainly, our messaging must not be hitting home if that demographic is out there for us to grab from. We're not doing a very good job at it. So do you have any advice for that?
I will tell you, everybody that knows this, okay, floor carpet installation is not for the young at heart. And I remember many years ago having this very, very arrogant guy come up to me. Yeah, you're a floor installer. How do you lift those big old rolls of carpet? I said, with my big yellow forklift. Seriously, this guy was getting in my grill. All right, I'm going to tell you something. When I was working with Andrew, you're going to get monkey knuckles. Not a joke. I could tell you from looking at a man's hand that he was a carpet installer. Yes. Swear to God, they got the characteristic calluses. Absolutely, monkey knuckles. You go like this, okay? Your hands are going to look like that. You rub down enough carpet like that, it's going to happen. Now, an interesting thing happened. When I first met Andrew, I had signed up for nursing school. I'm going back to 1990, okay? Because he goes, yeah, you want to come in the floor covering business if you want to see me? Yeah, but if I don't like it, I need to have something to fall back on. Okay, so I signed up for nursing school, Monmouth County Vocational School in New Jersey. It took me a year and a half actually to get into the program. And I'll tell you why it took a year and a half. Because every single time a man went and signed up for that nursing course, a woman was bumped down and he went to the top of the list. Because they had a drive to get men into nursing. Because nursing was almost predominantly women. And they said, oh, we have a problem here. We have 300-pound patients now. We need to get the guys into nursing. So I saw myself bumped down 3 times for 3 guys that came into nursing. All right, so now another thing that happened was they found out even the biggest, strongest men nurses aren't lifting these 300-pound patients safely. So what did they do? They actually started creating equipment like slings, seriously, slings. To pick up, motorized, you're pressing a button, you've got them locked in, and literally you're like moving Shamu from that bed to the side. I'm not making it up to you. That's what is absolutely happening. I mean, I've seen people hurting their backs and whatever trying to move people like that. We're doing to take that same technology and move it to carpet because I have been with Andrew lifting 800-pound rolls of carpet. Are you getting ready? You know, like you got to, sometimes you got to move it. Other times, you know, even if it's from the warehouse, a lot of times you got your cut list right there. All right, let's cut this baby up before we even get there, okay? And you got to make sure when you're doing that, you better trust those measurements are going to be spot on, okay? So you're cutting them. So, you know, you cut up your pieces in your marked living room, whatever, and you load up that truck with all those pieces. And then, I mean, I remember having a couple of times where, you know, I mean, really, experience is wonderful. All right, I bought this roller carpet. It's a 12 by 27, and it's a big commercial piece of product. Where we had our carpet store right next to Ocean Grove, New Jersey. It's a very Victorian oceanside community. And we sold a ton of pattern carpets. They were beautiful. And these two guys came in one day. I want that. Can you please deliver it for me this afternoon? We said, yes, of course we can. He was on the 3rd floor. And we were going up, I mean, I can't even tell you. I was like, it took us an hour to make this delivery. So again, a lesson learned. You want us to, I don't know where we're delivering it to. If it's, you know, drop it on your front porch in there, that's fine. But if we're going up 3 stories, you know what, you're going to get charged for that. Okay, because I'm not taking a roller carpet that weighs, you know, 300 pounds up three stories, you know, like in a loop-to-loop like this. But, you know, as far as like when we were talking about getting women in there, I mean, it's a rough job. I will tell you also too, and that was one thing about me, is that my primary job was doing the finishing work, trimming up the seams, vacuuming. And God is in the details, just like you said. And they say those girls, not only that, I've heard of a lot of the installers of workrooms that did have women in there, they said the girls were their best installers. They showed up, they didn't go out and have a beer on Friday afternoon and not come back, okay? They did their job, they did it well. Seriously, there's a problem out there.
I mean, that's our experience.
Yeah, exactly.
The point is like, how do you, if you're talking about getting a significant amount of skilled labor into our trade, and a good portion of that we would like to see be female for all the reasons we've just talked about, then how do you attract? What do we do?
They have to know it's an option. They have to know it's an option, and they have to know it's an inclusive industry. Where
How do you do that?
It's
Isn't the
right,
elephant in
exactly.
the
But we
room
gotta start by having the
sexism?
conversation and changing the mindset.
What isn't the elephant in the room sexism? Why don't we just talk about what we're
You're
talking about?
absolutely right. That
You know,
is
guys don't like to share knowledge with each other,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And we had that experience when you were certified. We were in Davenport, Tony and I, and you guys came out to help, and we had 12 or so guys from Carpetland. And Jen was there, so Tony and I said, we called Jane, let's put Jen in a box and certify her, she's here. And you didn't necessarily, weren't really pleased with that idea, right? I mean, you weren't like, oh yeah, I'll do that. We kind of, again, like.
Sometimes you gotta.
Okay, so when you're pushing someone against a tide of people blocking, and it's mostly guys, okay? So the only situation Tony and I had was that Jay was to stay away from her, okay? And for a good reason, because she's very, you know, he would have been too hard, and she would be nervous about that. And so the whole time, all these other 12 guys were all freaking out that we had allowed a girl to, and she pretty much outperformed all of them, by the way, on that. But they were, you know, you could see they did worse because they were, you know, so guys don't want to be beat by another guy, let alone have Crystal come out and outscore the whole group in that first, and I was one of the judges, so I'll tell you that all the judges had her 2 points higher than any of the guys in that first competition. Okay, I mean, so but sexism can also exist with female store owners.
Salespeople.
You're a girl and you're gonna come and do I mean, women can do that to women too. It's, you know, so that's really
I think
how do we
it's-
solve that problem, which is a much huger, isn't it?
It's like,
Well, it seems like the basis of the problem.
you have to start, I think, like you said earlier, like when Dave was like, okay, it's on all of us. Like, I did not get into flooring because of a man or anybody. I actually got into it because I was a consumer and we were purchasing floors. And I was in college, needed a job, and then once I got out, obviously, I went to Mohawk, joined through their Aspire program. Now I'm a product marketing and trying to just get more involved. But I would say, you know, my boss, Seth, he's our VP of hard surface marketing. And he is, I think the best thing that he's done, especially because I think I'm on the younger side at our company as well, being at Mohawk. And I'm also black, and I'm a woman, so like it's all the different, diversities. Yeah, I'm like, I got it all going on.
Yeah, you got
But
all inclusive.
yeah, it's like I got it all going on right now. But the best thing that he's done for me and like my team, we are all female team on his team right now, and he just empowers us, to go and make those decisions and make those calls. And like he sent me down here to come and be the face for our team and get to know the installer group, so that way we can go back and do better. So I think in general, it's not that it was like allowing Crystal to go and compete. Like Daniel empowered Crystal to go in there and go do the job. And then she's there because she can compete with everybody else. So it's like, it's all about the empowerment of the women and empowering of each other. And I think that's been the best
So
thing.
creating that support.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm like in the younger generation, he gives me the ability to be like, hey, I can do this, we can do that, and I can get my ideas to him. Obviously, he has legacy knowledge that I have no idea about sometimes. But once I get that knowledge, then I'm actually able to go out and make like strategic decisions. And I think that's like another big part is like it's not just I don't think everybody in our generation is lazy, but
that's a discussion that we can have.
But it's more about just giving each other the ability and the power to say like, okay, yes, this is why I'm here. Yes, this is why we do this. And I think that's what it's about really at the end of the day. So
I will tell you, in New Jersey, there was a company called Worldwide Carpet. And the man that ran the workroom was a fellow by the name of Kevin Gamble, and he believed in CFI. So Kevin Gamble had a bunch of Spanish installers. They were out of New York. And it was in the 90s that the year that the Yankees were playing the Mets, because I'm a Yankee fan and my husband was a Mets fan. And they paid extra to pay Andrew to come in and work with their guys on power stretching and pattern matching. Okay, it was an all weekend long thing. And these guys are from Corona, New York. We go to Edison. And as we're there, there's these two young ladies sitting off to the side. They happen to be the sisters of one of the installers. His job was to watch his sisters, and he brought the sisters along. Now, they had made what we called the playpen. It was an 8x8 room, okay? So you had two pieces of plywood, and we built a little, 2x8 frame around there and tack strip, and we're showing these guys, okay, how to power stretch. And Andrew stands up and he goes, okay, who's Joe Diesel knees? Okay, I want the best knee kicker installer that you have here. And this monster of a man, I'm telling you, 6'3", probably 300 pounds. Boom, 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 boom. The man is absolutely sweating, okay? And everybody's like, okay, how did you do? And he rubbed the whole thing and did this 8x8 area. Okay, everybody agreed, did a great job. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. We do that all day long. Okay. He sets up the power stretcher, sets it up, goes up to that little, she must have been 10 years old. Sweetheart, come over here. Okay, she just polished her fingernails. I'm not making this up. He goes, I want you to take this, and I just want you to, I'm gonna click this little button, and I just want you to push down like this. Okay, do you think you can do that for me? And this little girl goes like this, and this carpet went up like this, 2 inches. Okay, so this little, Andrew showed number one, the proper tools, okay? Because these carpet installers beat themselves up all day long, thinking knee kicking is the way to install carpet, and it's not. It's just a way to get old and destroy your hips and your back and everything else. And then the use of this power stretcher that this little girl, Joe Diesel knees just did the great job, and she just boop like this, and she got 2 inches of stretch out of that piece of carpet you just did. So again, that was a big demonstration because the guys were like, oh my God. And he was like, okay, now one by one, let's get you guys in here and show you how a power stretcher works. Okay, so again, the other thing is the tools. I was talking about, they have technology now where you are able to move these great big massive rolls of carpet that, even the 2 biggest guys are gonna have trouble with it, and girls are gonna have even less trouble, more trouble with it rather. Not all of them, because I've seen some women in this business that, some big strong girls, but we still are considered the delicate sex,
Right.
So
So
he's
to
trying to combat
piggyback on that delicate sex, I think there's another side of this that we're not talking about besides sexism is, and I think it's a generation. A lot of the gentlemen in this industry are older.
Yes.
Their moms and dads raised them to treat women respectfully. They are a lesser gender, not disrespectfully, that just you take care of them, you cater to them. There's a whole gentleman's guidebook about how women are always, you know, put in a safe position where you're walking on the street. So they were raised this way. So now we're coming in, they're raised this way, so you're already going against the grain, and they're supposed to look at us as equals. So in my store, the truck will show up for a pad. I'll be wearing jeans, typically heels. I like heels. And the pad truck will show up, and there's these big, you know, semi-truck drivers. He's like, well, who's gonna help us? I go, well, I'm the only one here. He goes, oh, all right. And I get in there, throw them over my shoulder, and walk them from the truck to the where they go in heels. And I will tell you, every one of them laugh when they're done. Good, I've seen men not even do what you do. And I go, I've been doing this since I was 6 because my dad empowered me. You know, I said, I've been doing this and rolling them and doing what I can, but that's the other side of the coin is they were raised, not they, I'm not trying to be, you know, disrespectful. Typically, men were raised to treat women, husband, wives, they treat women that way. So for them to see them in a position where they can do this hard work in carpet installation or hard surface installation or carry those boxes, it's their nature. They want to, oh, okay, I'll get that for you.
I think you're right, and I'm guilty of that myself.
It's not, yeah, it's,
You know, keep on being guilty of that. I love chivalry. I'm sorry, I do.
Joe, I'll get you a pair of heels.
I always
Just
will.
little 3 inches.
Right, and I think like the only time we've done that with her is she's worked when she was pregnant. So
Right.
when she's pregnant, it's like, nope, we'll handle this. You go do something else.
But it's
And then-
not being disrespectful to us. It's literally another barrier that we're running across, but it's just one that's out
Right,
there.
and
Right.
that's the older gentleman. I myself, I'm 35 and grew up with a single mom, right? And she's always taught us that I don't care. A woman can do anything a man can do. And that's kind of how we brought her in here
Yeah.
too.
But it can be twofold though, because it is kind of an old-fashioned thing, and
It's not
and
disrespectful.
my mom is 95, she's still alive, but I had all these aunts, and she was the youngest. And, you know, and we were all taught to be, you know, I still open the car door for Barbie. She didn't care if I do or not, but I do. But my aunts were all the toughest broads I've ever met. You know, at some point, you know, don't mess with somebody in the family, so you can get both of those things.
Yeah.
Like you know, you guys that know me, you know, every woman I know isn't equal. I try not to disrespect anyone, so I don't necessarily see that as being, I mean, I think you can live in both worlds, kind of. Like,
Yeah.
you know, James getting in front of
Barbie on the escalator.
which is kind of what happened.
It's the gentleman's fault.
Barbie doesn't like escalators, and we were joking about it, and her fiance jumped in front of Barbie on the escalator
theory
for
is if she
safety, and he
falls,
looked at
he
me
catches her.
as if, you
Going
should have
down.
done that, you know, I don't think there's anything disrespect, you know, I think you can do both things at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a safety concern or whatever, but am I making any sense with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
there's two sides of that
Well,
too.
you're doing it with respect.
There he is.
Yeah.
You're doing it with
Oh,
respect.
there he is. We were just talking about you.
To kind of piggyback off of that, I think that a lot of people feel that we want to be highlighted, is that even a word? And in reality, we just want to, it's not even about being equal in a sense. We just want to know that we can do whatever. We don't want to be better than anyone. We
It's not a
just
competition.
want, yeah, it's not a competition. More hands are better if we're all working together.
We're not looking for the spotlight. We just want to
Yes,
see the table.
exactly. Yes,
just wanna
yes,
sit at the
100%
table.
it.
And we were raised by a single mom, so she was always pushing that, you know, women can do anything. And sorry, I wanted to talk about kind of your question about how can you make it more appealing. I think that we have to reach the younger generation of women who, like at-risk women, who feel like they have nobody to look up to and nobody to guide them. If we, as a community, can reach these women and show them that they can gain this skill with their hands that can make them money, build them a career, and at the same time, build that mindset and so that they believe in themselves. Because in a sense, that's what Daniel and Jose have given me. That's what flooring has given me. It has given me a leadership, has offered my leadership capabilities. So when I came into flooring, I was very self-conscious. I was very not outspoken. So that's why I still struggle with that, getting my point across, and I get super nervous. It's a work in progress though. Like 2 years ago, no, not me. I would be over there in the corner just listening. And so now I make it a point to speak out or ask the questions, because I know that in order for me to grow, those are the things that I have to do. It has to get uncomfortable. And if we can reach those younger generation of girls and help start to build that mindset now, we will have more female leaders in this world. And I feel like female leaders, we have a little bit different approach, because we can be a little bit more, we feel empathetic. That's the word I'm looking for. We are a little bit more empathetic. And I know some empathetic men. It's you know, it is what it is. But I just feel like we can relate on a different level. We can, as a leader, I know all of my crew. I know what I can and can't say to every single person on my crew. I know their strengths. I know their weaknesses. And I think that if we can bring up more of those leaders, not only women, girls, but men too, if we start to, like a mentoring program, if we reach them at a younger age and offer the whole package, that's what a lot of women have to offer. The women who have grown and are in these positions that are here in this room, we have those things to offer. We are empowering. We have stories that can reach, you know, the souls of young people. Like you remind me so much of my mom. I can listen to you all day.
Do you think that that other women would feel more comfortable talking to another woman that's in the field as opposed to talking with a man?
100%.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and I will tell you something that I heard, a couple of things. Andrew always, we used to talk about all of these other organizations, used to watch CFI. What do these guys have? What are they doing? They're volunteers, they're not getting paid, they're working circles around everybody. What they got works, they're the go-to organization. Now, I've heard you say leadership, but we said back in the day, it was ownership. This is ours. Second thing is, I've seen this t-shirt and I gotta buy it before I die. Go ahead, underestimate me, this is gonna be fun. Now, another quote that I saw by William Golding, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I'm not going to say it all completely right, but it was like women, and forgive me guys, let me go with this. Women are absolutely the superior sex. Give a woman a home, a house, she will give you a home. You give her a baby, she'll give you a family. You know, you give her shit and you give her crap, you're gonna get a ton of shit. You know, but like every single thing you give a woman, she's gonna turn around and make it better. All right, so, and I was a single mom. I had my daughter when I was 14 years old. I was in college at 16 years old because I was bound and determined I was not going to be a welfare statistic and I was going to do something for my baby. All right, so I wound up getting married at 20 and having a family, but I'd been there. And I worked, you know, and I wasn't afraid to get my hands dirty. Another very, very interesting thing is, I saw this thing where they were out watching a tradesman, and the mom and dad said, stay in school. It's like you're putting down a tradesperson, when in fact those that are going to college come out of college on average with about $170,000 in debt, and the actual tradesperson is making, on average, $45,000, $75,000 a year, more than what that college grad is. You know, so don't ever put anybody down, a blue-collar worker, if you will, working with their hands. You know, Albert Einstein said, you know, if you judge knowledge by, you know, a fish's ability to climb a tree, everybody's going to be an idiot, you know, and it's not going to be for everybody. But there are going to be some people that get into this and go, yeah, man, I'm all about this. And like I said, it's giving them the proper tools, because you're going to take a little girl and give her a knee kicker and an 800-pound roll of carpet and say, go do it. Now, that's not going to work, but the right tools, education, blah, 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 yeah, we can make
The
that
right
happen.
leaders,
Yeah.
the right leaders.
You know, they're saying a lot more now as far as because we don't have enough trade schools.
We don't.
And the issue is, not everyone wants to go to college. Not everyone can afford to go to college. Not everyone has a parent that will dish out the money
Right.
for them to go. But what I'm seeing is they're talking about trade schools, but they're basically judging that on men, on boys.
Yes, we have to.
And it has to be changed to bring women in there, give them the confidence. I know myself, I was raised, you know, by my parents. My parents were immigrants. Came to the United States. They had 2 kids, $3 in their pocket. You know, so yeah, we had to learn. I got into high school and I was starting to notice I had a, you know, counselor. Basically went to my parents and said, you know what? I think it's gonna be better for Luba to go to that trade school than go on to college.
Really?
Yeah, very much so. And it's like, no, that's what I want to do. But he convinced my parents. So what did he do? He said, you know, Mrs. Wolosh, that was my maiden name, you know, Luba's gonna, you know, she's learning from you how to be a hairdresser. No, I wasn't. I wasn't watching my mother. But my parents didn't know better. And this is what you get with parents that don't really know. You know, they haven't been going to college and, you know, having all this money to go. So they convinced him. That's what he put me in.
What did you wind up doing?
What did you know what?
She went to college.
Well, no, not right away. Not right away. I went and, I graduated. You know, I took the regular courses. I graduated. But I opened up my own shop.
Good for you.
I opened up my own hairdresser shop. I did it for a year. I hated every single second of it.
Yeah.
Now, in 1970, you know, I was making $1,000 a week.
That was some good money.
That was good money then, you know, especially when you charge someone $1.75 to get a haircut.
Oh, you were working some long hours then.
I was working long hours.
Yeah, you were.
And but yeah, it was good money, but I hated it.
Yeah.
And I finally told my mother, I can't stand this. I don't want to see Mrs. Bundy again. I will never forget Mrs. Bundy. Beautiful white hair. And what does she want? She wants you to turn into this bluish purplish hair. And if you didn't dye that correctly, she says, I want you to fix this.
Oh.
And it's like, I couldn't take her, but she kept coming back to me every week. You know, it's like, well, if you don't like what I do, then please. But I wasn't, you know, living in a small town, and that's kind of what you did. And my parents, you know, they found out later on.
Right.
They sent my brother to college.
Okay.
He was going to be the big doctor.
Oh.
He went to college. And he flunked out the first semester. And that. But I think the big thing is they were recruiting, going to families to get into these trade things according to what their parents were doing. If they were successful businessmen, lawyers, or whatever, they didn't go to their kids, but they would go. So I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that now, with the interest of trade schools coming back, is what we have to do is say, no, it's all sexist. No matter what they are, white, rich girls, you know, and whatever, boys, or it's got to be all sexist and that. And I think what we have to do for the girls is give them the confidence.
Yes.
Now I have to tell you, my husband gave me the confidence in that. You know, I told my mother I'm going to go. I worked at the phone company as an operator for Bob Bell to make enough money to try and go to a school myself, because my parents didn't have it then. And I did. I went into merchandising and, you know, did that, worked my way up with the executive training program. They encouraged me to keep going, and I became a buyer for a store that used, similar to like an Neiman Marcus store. And I became a buyer, and I loved it. It was great. But then I, you know, opened up my own retail store, and then decided, you know what, I'm gonna go back to school. And of course, Jeff said, go for it, you should have done it earlier. And I did, I went back to school, got my bachelor's degree, and then got my master's degree. I'm an interior designer, and I believe all interior designers need to basically go to the professional flooring people, go to the professional installers, and they need to ask them. I know too many of my design friends go to them and say, I want it this way, I want it that way. And you just have to do it. Well, they're gonna go and say, you're gonna go over to, I can't do that because it's not gonna work right.
Right.
And they need to understand that. That's why I was talking to Alana. I said, you know, having a program for designers to go and see.
Right. Well, I worked with designers, and I had some that had $250 Axminster. Andrew, and they call Carrastan, who do you want to install? Oh, Andrew, he's a Carrastan certified installer. Call me up, how much you getting for that? $15 a yard. And I did not blink an eye when I said that. Go ahead, get somebody else to install your $250 Axminster butcher it and go right ahead.
Yeah.
No skin off my teeth.
I just had my client right before we came here. She called me up. She's on vacation, but she had the contractor. You put some people in there putting backsplash in. Put it upside down.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Upside, and this is not cheap tile, because this is by ceramic, you know, artistic tile, and you know how expensive that is.
Right.
Luckily, I called it in time. They were able to take it off and rearrange it. But if we waited one more day, that would have been the end.
Yeah. And there was another story, I'll tell you, this is an interesting thing, a very, very unusual thing. It wasn't with us, it was another CFI installer. It's working with a designer, very elaborate piece of carpet, and it had a border around it, it was going in the bedroom, and this guy did a fabulous job, and the designer walked in and went, you installed it backwards! It was supposed to go this way, that was supposed to go this way in the design. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever come across that before, that was a real thing. And this guy was like, nobody gave me any specifics on that. Now he learned a very, very valuable lesson when he was dealing with a designer. How do you want this pattern? Is it that way, this way, that? You know, because we talked about it in CFI, that there were like 8 different ways. This way, you can do it on a diagonal. I mean, how do you really want this carpet installed? But that was a very, very important thing to know about.
It's very important, and I mean, there are a lot of great designers, I have to admit that. But there are designers. It's like the one house I went into, and with the seam, they did it so it's from the window back. Okay. And when the sun shined in, you just saw that line.
Right.
And it was like, that's not right. And I mean, I've learned a lot of this stuff from you folks, being here, coming, and that. But I think it's something that we need to communicate with all installers, craftsmen, everything.
As an installer, I can tell you right now, right off the bat, when you're telling me it was right in front of the window, that was a correct placement for it because it probably got absolutely no traffic on that scene.
Yeah.
What you need is good window treatments to calm that thing down. You're walking across that scene all day long. I mean, I'm 4 steps ahead of you on that one.
That it was peaked either.
You know what I'm talking about.
But I mean, you walk in there, and you know the light comes in. You're not going to keep keep that curtain closed all day.
I'm-
So, yeah, I know.
You
And
don't talk,
see
it's
it. I know.
communication is what it
Communication.
is, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
But I think the big thing is like, we're talking about, when Jen and I were talking about all of this, you know, some of the different conversations that we may have at this place. And we were saying, we should get some, you know, go to some high schools, local ones, get some, say, hey, they're having a convention. Is there anyone interested? And that, and it doesn't matter what sex you are or whatever. We'd like to have someone and then have them say, having someone follow Jay around. And Jay can introduce them and show them what can be done.
You were
It is true.
exactly what I was thinking
Well,
last
that's
night, is we need young people at the
Yes,
convention.
and that's what we had talked
Yeah.
about, we made that list for
Yeah.
that. And as far as I needed that person to give me my confidence back that, yeah, I can do that.
Right.
And I, you know,
Yeah.
NWFA did that this year. Now, I work for National Wood Flooring Association, and before the pandemic, we had this planned, and then 2 shows got canceled, but for the first time, Beth witnessed it, she was at our show, we brought local high schools in, and we put together, we have what do we call it, a young leadership council of young people that we're trying to bring up in the trades and get out in front of young people in whatever town we're in. We'll be in Milwaukee next year. We already have 3 high schools lined up. And what they did was they brought in their VOTEC students, and we sat them down with young people who were involved in all aspects of the industry. So NWFA is a little bit different. We're not just installers, we're the entire supply chain. So we have manufacturers, distributors, retailers, inspectors, installers. So we made sure we had every one of those career paths represented on the panel. You were in the room, I wasn't, maybe 6 people, 8 people, something like that. And, you know,
Probably 8,
it was slow to begin with, but, you know, the kids, once they got a little comfortable, they started asking questions. So we started that way, and then we actually took them on the show floor. And we introduced them to different companies, and our show is a very hands-on show. So you can run a sanding machine, you can use a nailer, those sorts of things. And we got those kids to those manufacturers who had those things that they could tactily touch, you know, and play with it. And then we follow up with them after we leave that city to connect them with local businesses who are looking for contractors or for marketing help or whatever. I think that on the wood side, I don't know about the rest of the industry, but a lot of women tend to enter the industry on the marketing and finance side.
Yeah.
You're in marketing. I entered the industry in marketing. I know you have a marketing, English writing type of background. And then you get in and you're here forever. I told Beth, I thought this was a part-time job for me. When I interviewed, I thought I'll get that done in 6 months and then they're not gonna need me anymore, and I'm here 20 years. So getting the young people involved and getting them engaged, making them aware that the possibility even exists. We also participate in Manufacturing Day. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. It's the first Friday in October. And we work with our manufacturers specifically who make wood flooring to bring the kids into their plants and show them all the different possibilities. We've done that in Tennessee. They're now involved in their VOTEC program. So their construction program, if you look at what they do everything but flooring. And they would have someone come in over the weekend, install the flooring, and then they move on to the next thing. Now flooring is a part of that construction program. It's really, really grassroots. We've been working on this for about 10 years, and we're just starting to see some progress.
I have to say one thing. Andrew and I can't tell you how many houses that we did carpeting, vinyl, ceramic tile, and brand new construction, and the builders here and the homeowners there. And we finished up after a week of doing floor covering, and the lady would go, "Now my house is finished!" And the builders would be like, "I spent a year building this house, lady. Here, there for a week." But that house was not done until that flooring was done. Okay, so it is something that really is overlooked, but I'll tell you what, I saw that happen more time. The builders be looking, shooting daggers at us.
Can I just, as far as like your question, how do I get women in? When I see photographs installed, they're only men. Can we advertise when if you're looking for someone, have a woman that you know of?
We can.
We're working on that. We're working on that.
These guys.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying.
She's talking about you.
Yeah,
Is,
absolutely.
you know, having a woman that you see her, a woman installer doing something and you know, and working side by side, having those photographs and having those in there when you're trying to get installers.
Well,
So-
And it is.
I want to hear from this lady.
Anita's point, guys, you guys are aware of Build My Future, right?
Yeah.
We're actively involved, CFI is actively involved in Build My Future, which is a high school program. It brings 11th and 12th graders in.
Right. And I think
They-
you want
It
to
was
touch on this
also-
point right here.
It was
Like,
also
you wanna
cool to
talk?
see,
Yeah, I was
Elena
waiting
brought
on it.
some young
I
people
think
with
you just have to
her,
start talking.
those young
Yes,
installers,
yes.
through the, what is it, Goodwill?
It's the
program?
Goodwill HCE program.
Okay, yeah, so like getting to see them in there as well was like super great.
When you have your group, when you're teaching, bringing the school, I'm assuming you have both male and female.
Oh, absolutely.
And possibly even getting the young students and having photographs of those and bringing that out. And I think you might start getting more girls and women going, hey, why can't I can probably do that.
I wanna hear from this-
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to hear from this
You've
girl.
been waiting for
Yeah,
it.
I've been actually waiting for her to say
Introduce
something.
yourself. Okay, so hi, my name is Mauricia. Most people call me Reese. Easiest thing to say.
Hello, Risa.
What do you prefer?
So Reese.
Okay.
Reese.
And how do you spell it? Like Reese's cut. Reese's.
Like Reese's
Yeah, like Reese's. Most people will do that. They're like
But
Reese's.
because they say Reese's Pieces, right? But no, it's not. It's Reese's
No, cause
Pieces.
yeah, it is. It's Reese's Pieces, bro. Like.
See,
But like I went through the Helms Career Education. Elena is the person who was our instructor. So R1 certification, just got that not too long ago. But just to your question earlier, so part of my background, I am PR communications or whatnot. And so I know from a marketing standpoint that your verbiage is like most important, especially if you're trying to reach out to women. So things like saying, when you guys were talking attention to detail, timeliness, like words that resonate with females. And then also, of course, as you just mentioned, your imagery, of course, if you only have men on the marketing that's going out, then you're not gonna get as many women who are paying attention to that. And then I'm not quite sure what kind of avenues, because I know you guys are also talking about reaching out to younger generations. Younger generations right now are on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter more than anything. Facebook, yeah, everybody has one, but TikTok and Instagram are gonna be your best friends. And so if you are posting on those sites and like tagging different trends that are going on, because it's always a new trend or whatever, it's usually like some kind of dance or something like that. But the more that you get things out on platforms where young people are engaging, then you'll also get what it is that you're wanting in regards to us being interested in, oh, flooring actually exists. Because I personally I got myself into this whole situation or whatnot.
How?
So I always went down to Goodwill on a semi-regular basis anyway. And when I found out about it, I'm from the South anyway, Georgia, born and raised. And so I'm used to farming, construction, that kind of vibe regardless. And so flooring, I was like, oh, like I've helped my grandmother do epoxy because she wanted to, just because she wanted to. She's laid vinyl throughout the kitchen, God knows how many times, tiled the bathroom. And so those were things that I was just kind of used to doing anyway. I was like, oh, I might as well get a flooring certification. I was like, you know, something else to add to the repertoire. And then plus I actually enjoyed doing it too. So that was one of the things. And then of course, to raise awareness, definitely getting into high schools would be something that was really good just for the organization and everybody's individual organizations as a whole. Because if you don't know something exists, then you can't, engage or be a part of something that you don't know exists. And also, I know the newer generation, as far as like kids who were born in the 2000s and going forward, are a little bit lazier. Hey, look, my brother caught us by the cusp. He's also 99. It's cool. But when you're talking about late 80s, the 90s, like our generation isn't lazy, but one thing that we have done, we've watched you guys' generations work for 30, 40, 50 years, busting your behinds. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of like to see where, okay, well, what is there to show for it, so to speak? It's like, I don't want to enjoy my life when I'm 70. I can't go, I'm not trying to go skydiving, it might give me a heart attack. And so for us, we're like, look, I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. Although we are very hard working, because we don't mind getting out there and doing what it is that we need to do, because reality is that most of us are. Like, we understand, we found out after the fact that college was dang, like, that was a lot of waste of money. And now I got to figure out how to pay student loans, and I got to go out. And so we bust our behinds figuring things out. So as far as hard working, you probably won't find another generation besides y'all that works just as hard as we do. But also, like I said, because of technology and things that have advanced over the years, we are like, okay, so what's the smartest and most efficient way to do this so that we're getting the results that need to be gotten, but of course we're also not working too hard and taking up too much time. Because it's nice to work hard, but if Johnny can do this and it's gonna take Johnny 9 hours, and I'm like, okay, I found a better way to do it and I'm still gonna get the same result and it's gonna only take me 5 hours, then why would I spend an extra 4? Because reality is that's an extra 4 hours that I could spend doing another job. And so, that's one thing that's really big with our generation, so to speak. And then of course, because it is the women's panel, as far as promoting women, like that's something that probably should be done more, because I know we're talking about sexism and of course the whole thing that's a male dominated industry, which is cool. But if you are like, if you know that there's something that's coming up or there's a job and there's a female installer that you can send out or refer to, then do it. And then make sure your friends and whatnot, because I know everybody kind of gets in their own little circles. Hey, do you know such and such and such and such? I was looking for a female. Look for women, literally look for them to do it, opposed to like, oh, it just so happened. Because when you do things purposefully and intentionally, then it continues to roll over. Because if you do it, then the next person beside you, oh, that might have been a good idea. And then they're doing it. And then each one reach one. Because obviously you can't do it all by yourself, but when everybody's purposeful and intentional in what our goal is and steps to get there, it's a whole lot easier. It can be accomplished a whole lot faster, because like she said, they've been working on that for 10 years and are just now getting to where it is that you want to be.
Being intentionally targeting with the marketing message is not offensive at all, right?
No, it's really not.
Desired, right?
It's not. It's
I think a stigma is that it's at least in a lot of the males that I know that own companies, is that direct marketing in a way is they almost feel uncomfortable with it. You're saying no, throw it out there.
Yes.
We want all of us to be put on a pedestal to a degree. We're all out here doing just as hard, and you don't know how many times I open up a magazine and I see, oh look, it's another dude. And I'm not, listen guys, I'm not huge pro woman, I'm not huge pro guy. I'm in the middle here. But we have to take a step in one direction or the other. Because I'm starting to see these kids. I had 3 female students, 4 to start with, okay? I saw better hand skills instantly by my females. Instantly. Right? So it's like, okay, they got that. Well, we're smart, we read books, we do all these things, right? We listen to people. A woman sometimes will sit in a room and listen to all of you guys go. What do you think they're doing? They're gathering all their information from you guys to make them better. Okay? So you guys, you're leaders. give us a little bit of that credit for busting our butts and sitting there and having to endure the things that we endure to take those steps.
There was a word that I heard.
So put us on a
last night.
pedestal.
I heard last night at least a dozen times from our old school guys about why are we in the carpet business? And that word was passion.
Exactly.
You got
Absolutely.
it. You got
Yeah,
it.
something just came out of you, I didn't
This
see
girl
it.
got
Good.
passion.
That was so much content.
I'm gonna tell you something,
Amazing.
that's something nobody knows, CFI. You can't buy that. You can't
I
buy
know
that.
the session is going on simultaneously, but look at the advertising and the marketing that the FCEF is doing.
Yes.
There's a
Huge.
lot of
Amazing.
representation for diversity,
Yes.
for gender, everything.
And I
is
apologize,
being
that's
covered.
part of
They've
why I
done-
was late, because
they've
that's
done
what
a
I'm
nice
doing
job.
right now, that's something that's in my wheelhouse, and I got these new kids coming in, and I wanna know what's going on, so when they ask me these questions, not only can I teach them how to put a scene together, but I can help them with their scholarships, I can put them in the right direction, I can understand the company that I'm working for.
Those of you who also, not to self-tout here, but those of you who do wood, NWFA has a scholarship program as well. Those of you who do tile, the tile people have their own scholarship program. So we're all working with FCEF. They have their program.
Yep.
We're a part of it, but we also have separate programs.
Yes.
So if you have people who do carpet, who are interested in wood, we have scholarships for that as well.
And I wanna say just one more thing, I know I'm late to it, I'm sorry, but the high schools, okay, they were talking about the same thing, going out there to the high schools or whatever. We gotta make sure, yes, it's great, my dad, great person, Joe, great person to go out there. We're not gonna get the ladies.
They're not gonna listen to him.
No, right, exactly.
I'm sorry, they're not gonna listen to me.
Kelly, right?
I'm
Kelly,
sorry,
Kelly
but they're
Huddleston
gonna
was down
listen
there
to
the first
her,
week
and
of
they're
the
gonna
course.
listen to her.
Okay, and she,
Kelly was super cool, but it was like,
No offense.
because so like even when you so it's not so much an issue, so to speak, as far as the age group is concerned in regards to like him versus Elena or versus me, because honestly if you have all three of us then you're getting everybody, and that's a fact, you know what I'm saying. You can't really yeah, because that's the goal.
but part of my job there was I had 3 females in this class. Y'all, I was excited. I had to sit on my hands and go, I'm gonna push them, I'm gonna push them. I know I didn't see that though, but I'm gonna push them. You know, because I wanted them to feel what I feel from when I first started working for my pops.
Yeah.
At first, it was just a few little things here and there as a kid. And then I realized the value of what Dad had. He had the state contract. And then I'm like, okay, well, there's actually money to be made, Dad. What else can I do? And then what else can I do? And then we would go do a Capitol building or work at the Spur, at the Coliseum. All these big prestigious jobs. My pride. I started realizing it wasn't just I liked money. I liked pride. I liked the passion for what I'm doing.
And you know what I liked about the big jobs we did? When she come up long enough to do it, it wasn't always about what she could do with her hands. She went, and it took a little bit to get past the female, but she would go do what I really didn't want to do. Go deal with the contractors and say, we're going here next. We're going.
That's
It
right.
took them a little piece of time.
She does for
And
us.
once they realized, she
Real
said,
good.
my dad's crew's gonna do this, and we did it, and then they started believing her, and they wouldn't even come see me anymore.
But trust me, I had to beat down barriers.
What's your pop side to say?
One other point to that, on the other side, Elaine and I have done some stuff with Congolium, different things, and we go to these places, and she's the lead, and it's her thing, and I'm there to help. And I stand back, and she stands in the front, or a little bit scattered, right? And these guys come in and they go, they're trying to see me, and I'm going, this is who you're dealing with. And most of them did it perfectly good. And every now and then was one guy, he kept going around, he's like,
Yeah, and then when their first contact, I want to
And I'm
shake
like,
your
"Do you have
hand,
a
he goes
bathroom
right
here?"
past
I'm
me to Alan, and I'm like,
Well,
no.
that's
But then-
because we asked them not, we told Elena not to let you in.
I understand, but then that's all those cases, once they seen that, and the other quick story is what you told me, when one of your students came in your other class, and he went, oh God, look, I got to deal with her, she's gonna be my teacher, and what was it, 30, 40 minutes, an hour later, he went, I apologize.
Yeah, you got, yeah.
Only a few words.
So we got barriers, and I know you guys are
Yeah,
time watching. We
yeah,
got
lunch
barriers.
is ready.
As women, we got barriers. We have to stay strong out there, whether it's a general contractor, whether it's a homeowner, whether it's a job you're trying to sell. We gotta stay strong. We can't let the constant bombardment of who we are put us down.
I'll take two.
Take those kids and get back up. That's what I
I sat here listening, and I make one observation, one couple of notable observations. First, what's the barrier? And the barrier is assumptions. Either the person you're working with assumes things. They assume you're not capable of doing it, whether in high heels or not. And they assume there's favoritism. You're in this because you're a person of color, you're a woman. There's an assumption. It's not that you earned it, but you assumed it.
Yep.
You yourself will sometimes assume I'm not able to do this. Is not what a woman does. You do it, and the males around you do that. They assume that the next generation doesn't want to work hard. There's all these assumptions that become barriers, okay? These barriers are built in. I'm a baby boomer generation. We were taught that with doors. My wife will tell you, I have a hard time not walking on the outside of a sidewalk because I'm certain Sister Mary Peter's going to slap me in the back of the head. We have those assumptions. Martin Luther King had a wonderful line when a young woman called him and asked her, what can I do? And he said, get out of the way. Well, I'm going to tell you that's what you have to do. Men are here to listen to you and get the hell out of your way, and you tell them how to support you. Because otherwise, we can't solve this problem. Only you can, but we got to get the hell out of your way. I will tell you on the advertising thing, remember the wonderful Nike advertisement, be like Mike? What's wrong with it? Be like Reese. Hey! Take care. What's the woman in store you have? What's her name?
Sarah, and well, she has a daughter that helps her, but.
Take pictures of them and say, be like Sarah.
Yeah.
What if we do something? The answer is you want to attract women.
That's a really good marketing campaign.
Yeah,
I love
Do
that.
it that way. But the answer is that all we can do is
Yeah.
listen
Already got a vote.
and follow your direction. Because you have to get all out of this quagmire and this tunnel vision that men have of where you belong in our society. That's what I observe. It's all assumptions.
Yes, sir.
One thing, you guys, I did leave out, I want to thank Beth for always being here and supporting us and making us install so many different conventions or events, making us look good and making the installers stand out, and even trying to help us on the women's side. And I can't say thank you enough for that.
And I wanna-
we need that.
And Daniel wanted me to read this pop socket that he got for me. Just always remember this, you're not bossy, you just have leadership skills.
Thanks, everybody.
I know y'all are all going to lunch. Can I get a selfie? Yeah. Because,
Are you gonna put it
yeah, most likely.
Wait, I can take this.
Give me that selfie! Miss Cynthia, you must have Hey,
There we go.
Thank you.
There's a challenge for your speaking.
That's right, man. I love it.